Well, what have we got here? 96 Buick Regal. A friend of mine just bought this car for 800 bucks. It's the same friend that was going to buy that Escort wagon, but she didn't want to drive it, so she got this one. It's, I mean, rust-free, beautiful underneath. Only problem is it does have an oil leak down here. I'm thinking it might be the timing cover gasket or something down in there, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it in, jack it up, and clean it off and see if I can see it leaking. I just flushed out the cooling system. It's got water in it right now, and I'll be swapping that out later. It's sitting for a year. I mean, it's pretty good so far. I'll have to jack it up and look at the rest, but there's some little paint. I'll go back to the other car and I'll show you why she had to get this one. Well, here's the car she was driving. If you've watched my videos long enough, you'll recognize it. So when I sold to her about 2 years ago for 800 bucks, and kind of finally died. It's broke to the point where I can't fix it. So hopefully you get a good shot of this down here. It's gone. The whole subframe, where the subframe bolts to, is basically come off. This side is all the way down, broke off, and the other side, the subframe has slipped down. So pretty much garbage. But it's got good tires on it, and I get to keep those. He gave it back to me. This one's going to get parted out. I suppose I could try to fix that, but it's not worth it. The whole car is rusted to nothing. I don't really feel too bad about selling it to her because she got 2 years out of it and never paid me for it. So she got a deal. I really don't care. There's the Escort she was going to buy. But, you know, it's kind of a tricky stick to drive, this particular one, because the bushing was a little worn. And 6th and 5th. 6th and 5th gear because the fluid is leaking and it's low. So at least that's my guess. I'm not going to try to fix it, but well, she's got that white Buick, so I'm going to go ahead and get to work on that, see if I can't get it running, or at least figure out where it's leaking. Because we drove it back to my house about 30 miles and burned almost a quart of oil, or lost almost a quart of oil. Didn't burn it, but well, let's get to work. Well, now I'm on the underside of the Regal, and this thing's pretty clean. Well, like I said, I'm on the underside of this Regal, and it looks pretty darn clean. There's still paint on the underbody of the car, so not a bad deal. But right there, where you see I've got a little bit of water and brake cleaner because I was doing some other stuff, that's where I saw the oil leaking. And at first I thought it was oil because I thought I remembered seeing more in it when we first started it up, or before we first started it up. But now that I look at it, I'm thinking it might be power steering fluid. So I'm going to go ahead and top both of them off. I'm going to lower it to the ground, level it out, and fire it up and see if I lose either one of them. And where I might lose it. I might try to clean this up a little bit, this oil. And we shall see whereabouts this thing is leaking. Well, as you can see, this is not that white Regal I was working on. I actually did the coolant flush on that one and brought it back to her. Completely forgot to take any more video. But I did the coolant flush and I found that leak. It turned out to be power steering fluid. It ended up looking like oil because the power steering fluid was kind of falling into a trough under the car that looked like, or that had basically a bunch of dirt and grime in it, and the oil pan was seeping a little bit and filled that up. And of course, power steering fluid was leaking right above that, the hose was, so it would drip down through all that crap, and at the bottom the power steering fluid ended up looking like oil. But it wasn't that, just power steering fluid, so I topped it off for her and sent her on her way, told her where it was and how to fill it. And she's going to come back whenever she gets the money, and we're going to replace that hose. So you'll see the car again, needs oil change too. But I've got this thing in here now, just sort of mocking up the exhaust. I've just kind of got it hanging there with wire so I can get an idea of how much length I need off of those end pipes to get it back to the flange, because they took looks like he took a torch or a plasma cutter or something and cut those cut those ends off. So I'm gonna have to get a few adapters and a chunk of pipe on each side, see if I can figure out a way to mock it up. Probably not going to do any more filming on this one because I'm not going to put it together today. I also need hangers because it looks like they took a knife and just cut the rubber hangers off. So I'll have to figure something out for that. Not going to do, fully welded exhaust or anything. I'm just going to put adapters in and clamp it. Call it good. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just needs to be a little bit quieter. But it'll stay loud for a while until I get all those parts.